Hey again, it's Christina from Sunshine and Flora. So today I'm doing my winter sowing project. This is something that I do every winter in January. It's a really easy way to start seeds, and it's pretty much a hands-off seed starting method. So if you have not tried it, I highly recommend it. You cannot use all seeds for this method, and I will talk about that a little bit before we get started. But the supplies that I need for this project are milk jugs. These are going to act as the miniature greenhouses that these seedlings grow in. I need soil, of course. You want to use a regular potting soil. Don't use seed starting mix. That will not hold the moisture through the winter growing season. You need to use regular potting mix. I need the seeds I'm going to be starting, of course. I need a razor or a knife or something to cut the milk jugs. And then once we have everything planted, I need some tape to seal them back up. And then you need something to mark the milk jugs with. So I like to use a garden marker. This will not fade like a Sharpie does. I have all the supplies that I use for gardening linked down below in my description, along with this garden marker. These are amazing, so I highly recommend getting one of these. And then I need something to mark them with. These are probably a little big, but this is all I could find. I like to mark my seedlings inside and on the outside of the milk jug. And that's it. Really little amount of supplies, but a highly effective way to start seeds. Now, as I mentioned, not all seeds work with this seed starting method. Warm season annuals like zinnias or sunflowers or celosia, those are not going to work with this method because what we're going to be doing is planting the seeds in these milk jugs today, and then we're going to be putting them outside. They're going to be in the elements for the rest of winter, and then these seedlings will grow and come up naturally in the spring when the temperature's warm and the days get longer with daylight. Zinnias and those type of things, they would not survive. You want to either start seeds that are cool flowers, and those are annuals that you can plant out earlier in the season. They can take the colder temperatures. In fact, a lot of them like getting rooted in the cold temperatures, or you can start perennials, and I'm going to be doing both today. So the varieties that I'm starting, I'll start with the perennial, and that is Echinacea. I should mention all of the seeds that I start, I grow for cut flowers and I sell either at a farmer's market or in my retail location. So everything I'm starting today is going to be for my cut flower bouquets this season. I use a lot of Echinacea throughout the summer and into fall. The variety I'm starting is from Baker Creek, and this is the Paradiso mix. This is a really pretty mix of pinks and whites and yellows. I have some growing out in the garden right now. They have a really nice stem length and they grow really well. So I have quite a few seeds left. So that's the first variety I'm going to be starting. The other two varieties are annuals, and these are known as the cool flowers. The first one is a variety of straw flower. This is the Bright Rose, and these seeds are quite a few years old. So when I start these, I'm going to be sowing them pretty heavily because every year your germination rate goes down a little bit. So I'll just make sure to sow these pretty heavily, but they should be just fine. And then the other variety I'm going to be starting is sweet peas. I have 3 bags of these sweet pea seeds. These are also a few years old. It's the Royal Mix and the Melody Mix. These are mixes that I have never grown. These came with a certain seed sale that I was doing. It says there's a germination rate of 75%. So brand new seeds should get that germination rate. These are probably going to get less. And so I am going to sow these pretty heavily too. One thing when you start sweet peas, these seeds are a little bit different than the normal seed. They have that hard coating. Normally when you start sweet pea seeds, you need to soak them for so many hours. We do not have to do that when we do the winter sowing method because they're going to be holding that moisture for so many months out there in the elements anyway. So there's no need to soak the seeds before we start them today. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I need to do is prep my milk jugs. You want to make sure to cut some drain holes in the bottom because these are going to be getting any outside moisture you get throughout the winter season. A snowstorm, any rain, it's going to travel through the top of this milk jug, and that is going to water your seedlings, and you don't want it to get waterlogged. I've made that mistake before, and they pretty much just die off. So I'm just using a razor blade, very carefully, of course. I'm just going to punch the bottom, kind of twist it a little bit. And I'm going to do that on all 4 quadrants. And those are going to be my drain holes. All right, that part's done. The next thing I need to do is cut around the milk jug so that it opens up so I can plant the seeds. And you want to cut most of the way around the milk jug, but right under the handle, I'm going to leave this part connected so it kind of has a flip top lid. So you just want to slice right around. And then I'll go from the other direction. Okay. And then that's it. So the soil is going to go in here, and when I'm done, I will close it and tape it around. Let me get the other 2. Okay, my milk jugs are prepped. Now it's time to add the soil. Again, this is just a regular potting mix. I just have the Miracle Grow brand because that's what I could find this type of year. Try not to make a mess here. Okay. I've got this about halfway full, and I'm going to mist it in, really saturate it, mix it around a little bit, because I want this soil nice and moist so that the seeds have a good seed starting environment. When starting seeds, I always pre-moisten my seed starting mix. If you saw my video with my Lysianthus, you would have seen that I did that with that also. That is good and moist. I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm already making a mess. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so my soil is in there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the soil in these other 2 milk jugs so I can wash my hands, and then we will get the seeds in there. Okay, so we're going to start with the echinacea first, and with winter sowing, you still want to follow the seed starting directions on the back of the seed packet. So if they need light to germinate, you're going to surface sow them. Otherwise, they're going to tell you to plant them like 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch deep. So we're going to start with the echinacea, and it says you plant about 1/8 of an inch deep. So I'm going to use all the seeds in the packet. There's not a ton in here. Ooh, there's not as many as I thought. That's okay. So first, I'm just going to set them on top of the soil. So they're just set on top of the soil, and then because it's 1/8 of an inch deep, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of soil on top and mist it in again. Just a really light coating of soil, and mist it down. And that's it. So my echinacea are planted. So now I'm going to label my marker. Paradiso echinacea. I'm going to put it inside the milk jug. Close it up, and I'm going to label the milk jug. Always a little bit hard to write on. Then I'm going to take my duct tape and I'm going to tape it shut. And this is always the part that I am not very good at. There we go. There's my first one. They're not pretty looking, but boy, do they work. All right, let's do the straw flower next. And the straw flower, hopefully I can read the back of the seed packet. Okay, this seed packet does not give me the directions, so I'm going to Google it really quick. Okay, straw flowers need light to germinate, so they need to be surface sown. My favorite. I'm going to give it one more mist just to make sure it's saturated. And I think I'm going to use most of these because this seed packet, like I said, is a number of years old. So I'm just going to heavily sow them. Just going to sprinkle them all on top of the soil. Okay, I'm not going to use all of them because there's a ton. All right, there we go. The rest are going to get dumped back in this packet. I'm probably going to end up starting the rest of these inside because I probably should use this seed packet up this year. Straw flowers I use in cut flower bouquets, but mostly this year I am going to be growing them for dried flowers. I have a certain project that I'm going to be doing for my big end of the season market that includes dried flowers. And so I want to make sure to get a good stash saved up over the course of the summer. All right, the marker's in. They are a little tall for that milk jug. Looks like I'm going to have to order some. Okay, number 2 done. And the last one, sweet peas. Now these do not have directions on them either, so I'm going to Google it really quick. About 1 centimeter deep. I'm going to go ahead and label my marker. All right, so 1 centimeter deep. So I'm going to put them on top of the soil and then we will cover it again with a little soil and mist it in. And I'm just going to put this whole packet in there because I don't know how many years old it is. With winter sowing, you can start a lot more seeds in a small area versus when you put them in a cell tray. Because once they are growing and ready, you're going to basically take this whole block of soil out and you're going to separate all your seedlings and either pot them up into larger pots, or because they can take colder temperatures, they're going to go right out in the garden. So it may seem like I'm starting way too many seeds in these milk jugs, but really that's okay. All right. That should be plenty. I'm going to sprinkle the soil on top so all the seeds are covered and mist it in. If you don't have a mister for seed starting, check out this one that I have linked down below in my Amazon shop. Oh my gosh, it works so nicely and makes seed starting so easy. And it's not very expensive either. Okay, all 3 done. Let's go put these outside. All right, so this is where these milk jugs are gonna live for the rest of the winter. This is just next to my little greenhouse. You can see the hoop house in the background there. You want to make sure that you put your winter sowing jugs in an area that is sheltered from wind, but still gets some nice sunlight and is able to get your winter precipitation. The spot that I have mine in is going to be sheltered from any strong wind gusts, but it is going to get that afternoon sun and it will get the precipitation it needs. Any snow that we get, any rain is going to go right down into those milk jugs. So potentially, I may not even have to water them again. If you have a really dry winter, you do want to check on them once in a while to make sure they're not drying out. And then all you'll do is put your mister down in the milk jug, spray it around, and then that's it. It is super easy. You want to make sure that your milk jugs stay upright throughout the winter. If they tip over or blow over, that's going to mess the seeds up and they may not germinate. You also want to make sure they're not getting too waterlogged. So if there's a pooling area of water, you want to move that out of the location. But otherwise, it's a pretty hands-off method and it works for me every single year. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys are having a great January and a winter gardening season if you're growing anything. If you're like me, you're going to start doing your garden planning pretty soon, so watch for an upcoming video on that. I think the next video you guys will see will be a tour of my new seed starting area, which is the basement of the retail space. We have been prepping that. I have my hydroponic tulips going right now, so watch for that next week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.